Hello Perth! One of the astronauts on board the International Space Station, Italian Ignazio Magnani, took a couple of snaps of our wonderful city as he passed over Thursday night.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to MediaWatch. And what a thrill it is to see your city lit up from space, even if Perth Now and others have told the story a few times before. But who is this Italian astronaut, Ignazio Magnani? And was he really on the space station? Because here's a picture of the current crew, and he's nowhere to be seen. What's more, his Twitter photo looks strangely familiar. Yes, that's Russia's Yuri Gagarin, who was the first man in space 56 years ago. But 7 West's Perth Now wasn't the only one to look silly. The Daily Telegraph, Herald Sun and Courier Mail, which republished the story, also slipped up. And the New Zealand Herald has fallen down twice, calling Magnani a NASA astronaut last September and waxing lyrical just a few weeks ago.
As Kiwis wound down from another summer's day, astronaut Ignazio Magnani was pointing his camera down from 400 kilometres above the Earth.
And around the world, at least a dozen others have assumed the amateur space enthusiast must be flying high. From Argentina Radio, Croatia Online News, to the National Herald in Greece, and others in Cyprus, Dubai, Manila, and even KHQ local news in Spokane, Washington.
This is cool! Astronaut Ignazio Magnani sent us this picture of Spokane from space!
Note that Magnani has never claimed that he's an astronaut, or that he's on the space station. But all these media organisations jumped to that conclusion and never bothered to check. And isn't that a sign of the times? And while we're on the subject of travel and checking facts, here's a rather more serious example from news.com.au.
Secret to maintaining a 5-star travel lifestyle. An unemployed sales assistant has visited 22 countries in the past 12 months, thanks to rich men who pay to meet her in glamorous locations.
Wow! A worldwide Kon-Tiki tour, and all for free. So, how do you get rich men to pay for your plane tickets? News.com.au tells us it's easy.
Lucia Carbsey from Sydney joined a Tinder-style dating app during a year-long backpacking trip, taking full advantage of the generosity of lonely males. The 24-year-old estimates each trip costs dates about $10,000, including 5-star accommodation, business class flights, fine dining and activities.
And was there nothing in return? Well, the amazing tale was picked up also by Yahoo 7 and the Daily Mail. And in all these near-identical stories about a website called Miss Travel, Lucia had only good things to say.
The men that pay to jet me somewhere nice are all really good guys, mostly interested in friendship and looking for company. They literally won't let me buy a single drink, which at first was actually really hard to accept. Then I realised they just wanted someone to share their experience with them, so the guilt faded.
Really? Beautiful young women being squired around the world by rich men looking for friendship? Sounds too good to be true. And it is, because Lucia Carbsey is not a real person. Nor are the quotes. Nor is her amazing journey with Miss Travel, whose sister site Seeking Arrangement is for sugar daddies who want to find their sugar babies. But the woman in the photos is real, and she does live in Sydney, and we have tracked her down. And while she didn't want to be named, she was happy to tell us what happened.
I did this article for this Caters news journalist and told her I didn't want my real name being used for personal reasons. But the article she wrote is literally all made up.
And Lucia claims all the quotes are made up too.
It's all in quotation marks, but I've not said any of the quotes. I had said that I went on a Miss Travel trip to Dubai, India and Egypt off Miss Travel, and that's as accurate as the article is. Everything else is false.
But what about those free 5-star trips to 22 countries? Well, that's also not true.
I backpacked for 1 year on my own funds and only used Miss Travel 3 times.
So how did this fantasy get into print? According to Lucia, Miss Travel gave her profile to a news agency called Caters, which is responsible for rippers like this.
Eat dirt! Gran, who eats sand and gravel, turns to her walls when feeling peckish.
And this.
You're expecting. Woman finds out she's pregnant, thanks to pet snake.
Clearly only the highest standards of journalism there. Which no doubt is why the Daily Mail, Yahoo 7 and news.com.au were happy to trust the agency 100% and use Cater's copy almost word for word.
Lucia has enjoyed days lounging by infinity pools and soaking up world-class views. And on one trip, she was even gifted her own chauffeur for the duration of her stay.
Cater's is clearly Miss Travel's agency of choice, and it has pumped out a series of fabulous tales from women in Australia and the UK, which have been run month after month by the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Mirror, and local News Corp sites, all spruiking its wonders. But what do real users of Miss Travel actually think of it? Not much, it seems. Consumer site Best Company reports,
There are hundreds of negative reviews and ratings online about Miss Travel. The majority of the reviews claim that the website is full of frauds, scammers and prostitutes.
and Site Jabber, which has several recent reviews, gives Miss Travel only 2 stars, with comments that include,
Don't waste your time on it.
Be aware, girls.
Dangerous site.
1 or 2 users on Site Jabber have had a good experience, but none has come close to the PR fantasy. Surely the media could have done just a tiny bit of digging and figured that out. As for Cater's, which turned out this misleading and inaccurate nonsense, it declined to answer questions from mediawatch. And now to politics, or should we say sport, where the annual race to name Australia's next Prime Minister is already underway.
If you're going to put money on who the next Liberal leader will be, I'd be putting your cash on Peter Dutton. And I'm talking about a field that includes Tony Abbott, Scott Morrison, Julie Bishop and anyone else who thinks they're a chance. Mr Dutton is the bloke the coalition will turn to next.
Yes, it's only 6 months since the election, but the race to replace Malcolm Turnbull is off and running, and the bookies are already taking bets, with the former Queensland policeman Peter Dutton no better than even money. So, is Mr Turnbull really toast? Well, the latest news poll analysis in The Australian has him entering the danger zone, and we all know what that means. He's now giving less satisfaction as leader than Labor's Bill Shorten, and the ALP has a huge lead on the two-party preferred vote, which has been yawning wider and wider since election day. Veteran number cruncher Graham Richardson believes Turnbull cannot survive this calendar year and says Dutton is the right's front-runner.
While no one is counting at the moment, there have been discussions going on in some Liberal Party circles about Peter Dutton being the one to topple Turnbull. Sections of the right, including Tony Abbott, are pushing Dutton's barrow.
But it's not just right-wing politicians spruiking their man. The loudest cheers are coming from Conservative columnists like Andrew Bolt, who asked Dutton on his show why the public love him so much.
Sportsbet has got you coming through the field as the next Liberal leader. You're now only behind Julie Bishop. You were behind in the field. There was Tony Abbott in front of you, Scott Morrison, coming through like a rocket. What do you think voters are responding to?
That was 2 weeks ago, and as you can see, his odds have improved dramatically since then. Although whether there's any evidence that voters like him is another matter. A better reason for his sudden rush to fame is, for Conservatives, he is the last man standing, with even Tony Abbott's former supporters writing him off.
Tony Abbott will never be leader again. Colleagues.
Furious Conservatives have rounded on Tony Abbott, branding him a destructive hypocrite.
Meanwhile, Scott Morrison's performance as Treasurer has killed his chances, as even 2GB's Ray Hadley admits.
And Morrison knows this, I've told him, that he's gone from the people that listen to my program from being adored to being absolutely reviled. I mean, they just don't copy.
So Dutton is the new Crown Prince. And in the last couple of weeks, News Corp's columnists have been busy anointing him.
Samantha Maiden. Peter Dutton is the next leader.
The heir apparent for Conservatives is now locked in. Peter Dutton.
In The Australian, Janet Albrechtsen was also ready to hand him the sceptre.
Put Michaelia Cash into the lower house so she can become deputy leader, with Peter Dutton as Liberal leader.
So, with so many agreed that it must happen, the media went looking for a plot. And News Corp's Courier Mail discovered one.
Conservative power brokers Matthias Cormann and Peter Dutton in secret morning talks.
Wow! Barrels of gunpowder and a smouldering fuse. Time for the TV pundits to get in on the act.
Peter Dutton and Matthias Cormann on a morning walk. The Immigration and Finance Minister's not exactly thrilled to see our cameras.
Morning, nice day for a walk.
Nor with suggestions that the rumoured Liberal leadership nominee and the numbers man were walking and talking tactics.
2 middle-aged blokes trying to lose weight. I
I'm not sure you can, speculate much beyond that.
So, is it on? Will Australia soon have its first former policeman as PM? Not according to Mr. Cormann, who tweeted,
Secret talks? Is this a joke? Only in Canberra will some interpret a long-standing early morning public exercise routine as a conspiracy.
Paul Murray on Sky also did not think much of it.
In terms of just stupid, like there's leadership chat and then there's crap like this. Who knew it was April the 1st or somehow silly season in December? This is rubbish.
And Malcolm Farr, writing in news.com.au, called the Courier Mail story peak absurdity. But with so little policy action, so much uncertainty, and Tony Abbott constantly sniping, the press gallery will doubtless keep this story going. And in the meantime, what else is there to write about? Yes, I know, you've got the answer to this. Karl Stefanovic and the new woman in his life. A subject with which the tabloids are obsessed.
Karl rides Love Boat.
Kasanovic, Karl's new woman.
Karl's Love Boat. TV star shows off new squeeze.
2 weeks ago, Stefanovic supposedly went public with his new squeeze, Jasmine Yarborough. At least that's what News Corp called it, as they tried to film him bobbing up and down on this boat in the middle of Sydney Harbour, and finally snapped him in this blurry photo on the end of a very long lens. Yes, that amounted to the loved-up couple putting on a very public display, the Sunday Telly told us. And since then, we've been getting comprehensive daily bulletins on every movement of the happy pair and what they're wearing.
Karl was spotted wearing a pair of black Birkenstocks, which seem to be the TV host's favourite form of footwear.
Yes, hot news. He's got a brown pair too, we've discovered. But the Daily Mail had an even more exciting tidbit.
During his outing, the broadcast journalist was spotted inside a local eatery which appeared to serve a number of cakes and sweets.
Cakes and sweets. Jasmine Yarborough's also been making headlines whenever she steps onto the street, and this story had more exclusive revelations.
The 33-year-old beauty was seen stopping off at the post office before heading off to Harris Farms to pick up a few bottles of water. Along the way, she also purchased some Allen's pineapple lollies.
Now, clearly Stefanovic's a celebrity, and he can't complain too much about this stuff, however ridiculous it gets. But is chasing his mother really fair game? The Telegraph certainly thought so, papping her in the queue at Woolies a couple of weeks ago, as she picked up a paper with Karl on the cover. And Yahoo 7 went one step worse than that, running photos of him and two of his kids, who are still at school, which we have blurred. No doubt Karl put the pictures up on Instagram, but surely life's already rough enough without them being dragged into stories about his breakup. It's nasty and unnecessary. And as Karl told the Herald,
having 20 paps on your ass for 3 months is not good for your health, or anyone you're associated with. Goes with the territory I know, but it makes living hard.
And you can read more about tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or MediaWatch on Twitter. And don't miss Media Bites every Thursday on Facebook, Twitter and our website. But for now, until next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.